that you never started. You once destroyed a broken heart that was already shattered. Holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back. Holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back. This love that you never started. You once destroyed a broken heart that was already shattered. Holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back. Holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back.
changes.
Life. Life.
I was fine when you held my hand. I was fine when you pulled me down. You said the stars would answer. You said our prayers were written down. I was fine when you pulled me in. We were forced to be human, and then the world came after, and I had never questioned it. And they said it was wrong. We started it all.
All right, we are live with the losers final semifinals here, and we have Baconator versus Call Me AI. I'm Chief of the Cards, joined by Kenny. Kenny, what do you expect to see here? Odin versus Roman Bologna.
Honestly, I'm quite surprised that I'm seeing a beast coming out of Odin. This is something we usually do not see. We either see Token Odin or we just see Rush Odin. But Beast Odin is something I did not expect. Honestly,
So Beast Odin, is that mean we're gonna see more of a mid-range Odin, or are you just completely like we're just gonna take it and see what happens?
I mean, Beast in general is more early to mid-game focused. You want to overpower your enemy, whatever pantheon you're playing. You want to overpower your enemy and want to make sure your minions are or units are always on the opponent's stone.
Very good. So Rain of Arrows there really early. Do you think that was good, or you think that was a little early with the rain?
I think it was a decent decision
Mhm.
because he wanted to whittle down the stone of the rune stone. So at this point, he's just trying to make sure, at least at next turn, he can, in conjunction with his ability power, with his Pantheon power, he can kill the Runestone. And that's the most important thing about any matchup against Odin. You want to get rid of the Runestone as fast as possible.
Yeah, it was a great call because we see how powerful the Runestone of Ire is in conjunction, especially with a Hydra. Right there, you forced Call Me AI to keep that poison in his hand, to play Venus to try to answer for it, like you said. Definitely has tempo. Baconator's pushing tempo here. Um, how do you think AI can counter this? He has a lot of threats on the board right now.
Well, if you look at AI's hands, he has a Mercury in hand which could easily kill off either the Runestone or the Hydra or even both. And even if it doesn't, well, there is still a Venus in hand. As you see right now, they can kill off the other beast, which means that at this point in time, you can call me AI has a board advantage against Odin, which is always something you're looking forward to.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, it's a great call. Mercury came down, clears the board, switches what looked like a pretty bad scenario into a good scenario. AI has definitely the momentum here. Do we see Tusky, or are we looking at White Tiger maybe setting up some board position?
The thing with Tusky is actually a really good card. It has 4 attack, and if you play it against just one enemy, it does a lot of damage because it can just trade against your enemy effectively because your enemy is not able to trade against it the moment his one unit is stunned. The thing we see here right now, Beginner just doesn't want to lose board control whatsoever, so he just kills off his own Tusky and he plays his White Tiger in order to set up some more play in the future.
And we see he has Suku in hand, a really powerful card, especially with a beast on board. And he has Hasten Fatalis. This could be a pretty nasty combo play right here.
I totally agree. I mean, Suku, if left unchecked, can do a lot of damage. If you look at it, he has 7 mana. He has Suku in hand, which means Suku plus Hasten Fatalis can do 10 damage to the enemy stone, and you can call me AI is already at 13 health, and that's, in my opinion, why he currently is hesitating, because he's trying to figure out, okay, what he's supposed to do. Either he's going completely all in, trying to finish off his opponent, or either he is trying to trade with his opponent board. But as we see right now, he's just trying to attack the stone and try to finish off. You can call me AI.
I mean, this is very interesting. This beast Odin looks pretty powerful, especially with Soku. That's a very strong combo. And he went. He went for. What do you think about? I mean, I think going forward was the right decision. How do you respond if you're AI right now? You're down to 3 health. Obviously, you've got to clear Soku, but how do you come back from this?
But the thing is, in general, against Odin, the one thing you want to do, if he is Beast Odin or whatever, you always want to block your paths. Okay, you never want to give Odin any chance to attack your summoning stone, given you are really low on health. Which means he exactly what he did. He just pulled his units forward, which means even in conjunction with a Rose of Aya, at least on those 2 lanes, Odin is not able to deal damage to a summoning stone immediately unless he draws something like a backstab or anything that can damage the summoning stone directly.
I really like AI's plays there. Just exactly what you said. Another Mercury hits the board. He clears out that White Tiger, goes ahead and like exactly what you just said. He puts units in a position where Odin can't go ahead and just pick apart his base. He's got to deal with the line of Roman soldiers, gods actually. Really nice play by AI trying to come back. Baconator he has a Lemain Hydra, but he doesn't have any quick offense. This looks pretty rough now for Baconator. It looked really good. You think he runs backstabs?
Usually you don't see backstabs in Odin decks, at least at this point. It used to be something you would always run, but at this point I think he doesn't run backstab, and at this point he's usually just looking for something that can actually directly inflict damage on the stone, or he's looking for a Runestone of Ire in conjunction with some other minions. But at this point, Bellona blocked everything. Bellona blocked all of his paths, so I don't really know any way how Odin can reliably get back into this game.
Yeah,
and he taps out.
Good call. And that's one of the problems you run into, or not a problem, but if you're an aggressive deck, you went all in. He went as fast as he could, ran out of really offense, and Bellona had the defense and positioning. Great first round. What's your impression of that first round of this set?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Odin is usually the type of Pantheon that really needs to get ahead in the early game and wants to finish the game at like 5-6 turns, something like that. So as we saw in this game, if your opponent is able to block your paths of attack, then Odin becomes much more weaker, and you have no choice than to just hope for some miracle turn if you're in Odin's place.
So that was an amazing set. AI goes up 1-0, and so his Roman pantheon is down. What do we expect to see? Do you think we're gonna see another Odin? In other words, you think he's gonna go again, try to get that win, or do you switch up pantheons if you've lost that first set?
Well, the thing is, in my opinion, Odin is a really safe deck. Pretty much everybody runs Odin because every Odin is just so strong. Every Odin can overpower the enemy within like 5-6 turns, given the right cards and given the fact that your opponent doesn't draw early game minions. So I think Odin is the kind of Pantheon you kind of want to get rid of, in the sense that it's really strong and you usually expect at least one win with it.
Okay, makes sense. So you're just going to sit there and just run with it till it gets that one win. You're not really worried about any particular matchup. You just want to get it and get that win and go to your next pantheon.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stay right with us. We're going into game number 2 between Baconator and Call Me AI, Shifu the cards, and Kenny on the call. We are get to look at the mulligan phase here. It is Odin, like you said, very adroitly, against Ra. Here we go.
Yep, basically the thing you want as Ra. Honestly, okay, I need to get this back, because you can Call Me AI actually plays a Beast Ra if you look at his hand, which is something we usually do not see. So it's basically Beast Odin versus Beast Ra, which is something that I personally did not expect, honestly. So yeah, it's really interesting. At this point, Call Me AI is a little bit on the back foot, but playing a Tusky, for instance, would start out the unit on the board that Baconator currently has, and it gives him an easy trade-off if he chooses to do so.
Do you think you go coin into Poisonous Hydra here for tempo, or a stun? What do you think?
I think at this point you can argue to do it, because at this point you're at 23 health and he's also doing it, because you're only facing 2 damage from your opponent. And what you want is tempo. Usually if you're playing Ra against something very aggressive, the best play you can make is, use your mana potion to play something at turn 2 if you have something for at turn 1, if you have something at turn 3. 2 free drops go a long way against something like Odin. So in this case, I think the Poisonous Hydra was completely the right decision because it stifles Odin's options at this point.
I really love Baconator's play there. He goes ahead and takes 2 damage from the poison, plays his own Poisonous Hydra. Really battle, and I think a really nice positioning of that Basilisk up there, moving it around to make him answer for it. We're seeing some really high level play between these two. You wouldn't expect anything less. Hydra versus Hydra action. The Fist of the Gods comes down, and this is a great set right here.
Yeah, at this point it looks like it's going to be a great set. Odin definitely is at the back foot right now because Ra managed to get board control by stunning out the Hydra Odin just played and killing the Lizard without any recourse. So right now on board, Ra is on board, and that's something you always want to be, even if it's Beast Ra. Odin has so much capability in the early game. You always want to be ahead in an Odin versus Ra matchup as Ra.
I love this match. I'm loving what I'm seeing from both of these guys using their decks really well. Baconator, Call Me AI. I mean, the Tusky plays coming down from both sides. It looks very similar, like you said. Both, it's like a Beast Wars kind of scenario going on. Playing it really well, positioning, pace. Freya, I knew Freya was going to be a big play here. Freya comes down, kind of slows down the aggression of Call Me AI. Do we see Bastet or no? We're going Anubis.
Yeah, the thing is, you pretty much had to play Freya at this point because, as I said, as Odin, you always want to be proactive. And if your enemy is on the board and you pretty much can't do anything about it unless you play Freya, which banishes units for at least 1 turn, you're trying to do it. Unfortunately for him, Ra had the perfect answer and killed off Freya because before she could trade into the Hydra, which means that Odin is forced into playing something like, yeah, he can't really, he can play a Runestone, for instance, in conjunction with Skadi and Calder, which kills off the Hydra as he's doing right now, and just wait out the turn.
Skadi and Calder plus Runestone, it's such a beautiful play. Those 2 cards, well, 3 when Skadi or Calder summons Skadi, it's just really great to watch. Or Skadi Cummins Calder, I should say. We're looking at Bastet. Bastet drops down. Uguay drops down. We're looking at pressure from You Call Me AI. I mean, the Runestone of Ire is still a faction. Do we see the Lemain Hydra drop here, you think?
Honestly, this is a really tough question because Lemain Hydra can get rid of the 4/4 beast that is in the backline. On the other hand, you don't really have much answers for the Anubis. Neither do you have answers for the 1/1 tokens that Bastet spawns, even if you kill her. So at this point, he's just gambling, and he can gamble to at least stun something more relevant than the Bastet. I think this was the worst outcome we could have hoped for. So yeah, at this point, he can kill the Bastet freely, but that's not what he wanted, honestly. He just wanted to either stun the Anubis in order to at least do damage to it in conjunction with the Skadi, or he wanted to, just play the Lemain Hydra. But as we see right now, at least he's able to gain some board control.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the double value of Tusky with the Runestone of Ire. He got the stun and the kill all with 1 card. That's very valuable. Now, of course, it didn't stun the one he wanted, but still stuns a unit and then gets the kill with the Runestone of Ire. In this mirror matchup, Beast versus Beast, Pantheons, that Runestone of Ire is really kind of swinging the favor in Baconator's, swinging in Baconator's favor at this point of the match.
I mean, if you look at you can call me AI's hands. I mean, it just use Dying Wish. Dying Wish is the kind of card you usually want to have in hand if you are somewhat ahead in the game, because it really synergizes well with something like Bastet, as it did right now. But if you're behind in the game, yes, additional cards are great, but usually additional cards won't, swing the game around if you have to expend mana in order to acquire them. So at this point, Odin is far ahead, especially considering he has a Runestone on his side, which means that he can easily just throw bodies at Ra at this point.
Ra does get the resources in hand, but none of them in hand currently are going to have a good answer for the Runestone of Ire. Now, do beast decks generally run Chaos Spawns, or they don't really worry about it? They just go straight for the pace?
And I personally think you can always make a case for running at least one silence in your deck. I mean, obviously, honestly, Ra definitely needs one Chaos Spawn because I can think of any other silencing effect Ra has in his game. So he needs the silencing effect, so he will always run Chaos Spawn at least to get rid of something like Neon Hydra's ability to just block damage, everything that goes beyond 1 damage. Yeah, you always play this kind of card, and it's also really strong. But as you see right now, Odin is just so far ahead, and he's ahead because of the Runestone. Like always have to keep in mind, Runestone is something that gives so much value over a couple of turns because the charge mechanic is so strong against whatever Pantheon you're playing against, and you see it right now with the Hydra.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. The Runestone of Ire is swinging this game completely in Baconator's favor. Plus great board positioning really by both. This is high level. I'm really enjoying casting this game. That Hydra is going to be a real problem for him. He doesn't have a silence to either the Hydra or the Runestone of Ire. He does have the Magma Slam, which might come in handy to slow this down a little bit. But he has a lot of resources in hand, none of which, besides the Magma Slam, seem to turn the board quickly.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, pretty much everything that might help him is either a Chaos Bomb or an Execute, because you want to get rid of the Hydra as soon as possible. It's threateningly lethal. So basically, all you can do is getting rid of it and hope you draw the necessary card in order to fend off Odin's aggression. But at this point, as we see right now, he doesn't have the cards necessary in order to kill the Hydra.
Yeah.
So all you can hope for is to stun the Hydra with Tusky in order to delay it 1 turn, which is in fact happening. But still, it's just he's just delaying the inevitable at this point.
Yeah, unless he draws that Chaos Spawn or the Execute, it's looking pretty bad. But plus now he gets Wind Demon. That Baconator gets Wind Demon, so that will be that might be a problem. And he still has Suku in hand. So, but the positioning of You Call Me AI is also great. He is blocking any kind of immediate aggression from Odin by Baconator. So good call there, unless of course he clears out that Tusky, which he will, and then runs Soko right down the middle, it looks like.
Yeah, that's exactly the play you should go for, because at this point, Ra at 8 health, there is not many things you can actually do in order to increase his health total, which means the more damage you can deal on his Summoning Stone, the more likely you are to win the game. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Odin is playing the Suku plus a buff, which means Ra at this point is at 1 health and basically has to try to get rid of as many of Odin's minions, which he's not able to, which is why he is tapping out.
And it was great. I mean, this is why I love Hand of the Gods, and I'm sure you do too, and everybody that plays the game. It was just a great positioning battle. You draw the cards, you play the cards, and there's that tactical element there, but it's the positioning of the units, it's really 2 games into 1. And so now we go into game 3. It's 1-1. Baconator versus You Call Me AI. What do we expect to see? We're going to see Beast Ra again, and if so, what do you think? What do you think about that deck?
Honestly, I'm really surprised that we are seeing Beast Ra at this point, because it didn't seem, for me personally, it didn't seem like a really strong deck, because usually you would play decks that really synergize with beasts, like Nova, for instance. But if you think about it, like the beast itself, all the neutral cards are so strong in itself and synergize with each other that it can actually work out. I still think something like Nova in conjunction with Beast is much more stronger than Beast Ra. But still, I think Beast Ra is turning out to be a menace to be dealt with,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think we saw that deck. I think we saw that deck against a bad matchup. I mean, it's Beast Ra versus Beast Odin with Runestone of Ire out. So really, that's going to be a hard road in any deck against that particular setup. But then also, he didn't draw executes. I'm sure he has an execute. An execute might have changed it. I think it was just a bad matchup / bad draw. I think is what we might have saw there. But I agree. Beast Raw is definitely unique, and he's done well enough to get to this point, so it's done some kind of damage.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, if his decks were completely bad, he wouldn't be at this point, you know.
Right.
So it seems like Beast at this point is really strong. It's really funny because they introduced Dachi, which should in theory buff up Beast Nova. So everybody was trying out Beast Nova,
Right.
and it seems like people figured out, wait, like even without the addition of Dachi or any Chinese cards, beasts are actually really strong. And I think that's what you're seeing right now in this particular set.
Yeah, as if you knew what was coming. So we have the third set of this beastly battle. We have probably Beast Noir versus Beast Noir in a mirror match. Um, so when you have a mirror match like this, is it draw? Is that going to be the main determining factor here, or is it going to be something else?
I mean, let's be honest. Draw is really important in a card game. Whatever card game you look at, draw is always important because if you only get like high cost cards, there's basically nothing you can seriously do in order to win the match. But in this particular case, I think it comes down to execution because uh, both are running Beast Raw. So the one who is able to trade the most effectively and put more pressure on the enemy summoning stone without giving up, as I said, too much pressure is going to win the game in the end.
That was a great call. Yeah, I totally brilliant call. The Lemaine the Poisonous Hydra drops down. He does have Hebu in his hand, Heboed in his hand, but you don't want to use that on the Hydra, obviously, and then you still have the pacing. I think that is going to be a huge. That Poisonous Hydra pacing tempo is going to make this a very, really early on. Baconator has a very powerful position with that Hydra.
Yeah, the Hydra. The thing with Hydra is, I mean, it's a 4/4 for 4 mana, but the thing is, you basically prevent any high cost drops at a certain point in the game. And that's why it's so extremely strong. Either your opponent chooses to not play high cost drops, or he just takes 4 damage to his throne, which means on your side you are playing Beast Raw, which means you want to be very aggressive. You want to do as much damage as possible on your opponent's throne, and this is great for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is we see the Dragon King hand. That should be interesting. But yeah, I totally agree. And it got a really nice Nemean Lion, excuse me. Got the bonus, but it didn't really matter. He went ahead and cleaned out that Hydra anyway. So what is he going to? I think he's going to develop here. No, Tusky comes down. That's very interesting. What do you think about that play?
I think Tusky is a really good choice because Tusky is the kind of card you always want to play when your opponent only has 1 minion on board. If your opponent only has 1 minion on board, it means that either he cannot trade into your minions or he has to use spells from his hand in order to get rid of your minions that you currently have on your board. Unfortunately for him, You Can Call Me I had 2 Habwas in hand, which is something you usually could not expect. But he was able to stave off the aggression that Baconator 224445 showed in the first early turns.
Yeah, Habwa. Thank you for giving me the pronunciation of that. Because sometimes I'm from Louisiana, I pronounce things wrong a lot. So Sugu comes down, hits it. The pressure from Sugu, we're seeing a lot of great Sugu plays, putting the tempo. You Can Call Me AI is really on the board. The Hibwa did bounce back. He does have board control currently. The Poisonous Hydra is on the board for Baconator. So what are we looking at here? Do we see a Hibwa in return, or Uguay comes down?
Honestly, I don't think so. Yeah, especially because pretty much everything he plays is a beast. So
Mm.
His spells become much stronger with the addition of beasts on the board, and that's why he was able to completely eradicate You Can Call Me Ice board at this point. And
This is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
he's ahead on the board at this point, and that's exactly where you want to be. So basically, you baited your opponent into playing something like Hava, which could be easily shut down with your hero power. I mean, it's 2 mana for just 1 damage, and the only minion he had on board which was easily countered by your already existing poisonous Hydra on the board. So I think he played it really well at this point.
This is a heavyweight matchup right here. It's 1-1, best of 3. If you're just joining us, this is the loser semifinals. These are two great competitors. You can call me AI, Baconator Shifu with Kenny here. We are seeing a heavyweight matchup, the third and final set. It is Beast versus Beast, as it's been a very theme through this competition, this set. We see a Hyena come down. It's like he's going to develop a counter board to Baconators. Yeah, he's just building presence. And the Hydra, beautiful play, beautiful sequencing there by You Call Me AI.
I mean, I'm not convinced it was the completely right play because maybe
Okay.
he would want more cards in order to be able to pressure his opponent in case he was able to stave off Baconer's aggression. Because what he did was he played the poisonous card. Of course, he didn't take 4 damage, but he also didn't draw 3 cards for just 1 mana for Emperor's Prize.
That was obviously you were right. As you saw what happened. He hits him with Calamity, which stunned that entire column he had just set up. That can't feel good. And then so Baconator hits the Calamity, pushes through, has complete control, builds his own column. Is Calamity a very common card we see in Beast Wa?
Right now, it definitely is. I mean, it provides so much value because as an aggressive deck, usually what your opponent does is it positions its units in the very back row. So Calamity is a card. Okay, you can stand pretty much. You can completely stun 1 row, which is so important against decks that just want to stall out the game and want to wait until you come forward until they can trade effectively with the units they played behind their stone.
Dragon King comes down, clears that center column. Really, really nice play. Does kind of, row. Does get that nice. He's clearing it out, but he is without resources in his hand. And we see that Baconator has quite a few resources in hand, specifically draw a card. He has a Dragon King of his own, and more Uguay, more pressure coming down, Tusky coming down. Baconator is looking to be in a very powerful position at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially because You Can Call Me has absolutely no cards in hand aside from Emperor's Prize and Tusky. So he's playing the Tusky in order to gain more value from the Emperor's Prize, which he is pretty much forced to play at this point. But the thing is, he's looking at a unit that is gaining strength by the turn, and even if he gets rid of it, there are still many more other minions he has to care about. So at this point, I think Baconator is at such a good position, to close out the game, and he does so with the Dragon King.
Yeah, Dragon King for the finish. So Baconator will go on and continue his journey 2-1. So what do you think about that set we call? That was pretty good.
I mean, it was a good set. I'm still surprised that beasts were such a common theme right now.
Right.
I knew that New Ra was really strong in conjunction with beasts because they received the buff with Dachi, but I didn't expect other pantheons run beasts so effectively.
Yeah, I was very that was a very exciting set to call. Kenny, it's our first time calling a set together. I really enjoyed it. Great insight. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
there.
too.
Yeah, and so for those of y'all just watching, please hit that like and follow button for Smite Prime. We are done for the day. Go ahead and go back over to Hot Hand of the Gods and continue this action of the very first qualifier for High Res Expo. It's been a pleasure to be here. Sorry I was so late. Y'all have a good day, and thanks for watching Smite Prime.